Progress comes to a world of magic as science and the arcane combine to make marvels. Meet steampunk inventors and orc mystics at the Volsung Hub on beastsofwar.com. Keep your blaster handy, the West is a dangerous place. Fight to survive as men turn to monsters and the dead rise on the Wild West Exodus Hub at beastsofwar.com.
Good morning, welcome to The Weekender. We have a jam-packed show for you. Jam-packed as in time. We're down to one camera because all the cameras and basically everyone is running around. We're creating a brand new series of Minis Mashups, which is our kind of war machine conversion program.
Yeah. Well, it's really just doing custom War Machine minis that you can then add to and just make them more epic.
It's a great series, and we have been flat out. Actually, while we're doing this, he's still locked in the other studio doing it.
Yeah.
The other thing that you might notice is we have Ben in HD. Oh, man. Ben, you look amazing. I can see every individual follicle.
This is to accurately sort of show off my artistic loveliness so that Caesar can draw me amazingly, like one of his Frenchmen or something like that.
Yeah. We'll be talking about that. I think it's in the backstage show we're going to be talking about Caesar's cartoons. Right. They've given me these. I apparently run off the running order. They've decided I can't see it. I can actually say, though, they do help. I haven't worn my glasses in a long time because they were in the lockup for the last 3 years. And we discovered them while we were down 4 years. While we were down getting the lockups all organised. We have these lockups in Beast of War. We have lots of stuff, terrain and stuff that we've built. We can't house it all here in the studio because we've got 2 boot camps coming up. All been well, with 2 boot camps coming up. So we have these lockups that weren't entirely waterproof. So every year we take Justin and put him back on the roof.
You get to relive the glory days of my carpentry.
Yeah,
only this time it was with a paintbrush for some reason.
Filling in all the holes with rubbery paint.
Yes.
But other than that, we had to reorganize everything and we use these kind of stacking boxes. We have this thing called compatibility here at Beasts of War, and you might find as your hobby grows, it's a useful thing. But basically what we do is we standardize our shelving and our storage. And then whatever we use elsewhere is the same standard, so it just makes it easy to move things around, and it's always compatible, and we know it'll just work.
Yeah.
But anyway, while digging through the lockup, John found my glasses, and the guys are now insisting that I wear them so that I can actually stay on the running order.
After we've actually just went off the running order to explain.
Do you know what? I just did. But I can say, one of the interesting side effects of it is I've never seen the monitors that we watch so clearly. You know, it's like everything actually looks in focus for a change. Interesting. Right. I have a couple of announcements.
Yeah.
One is started out as a plea for help, but it's actually got me wondering. So, Commodore Rob, a community member, Commodore Rob, has been running a Beasts of War Dropzone Commander team. Okay, that have competed at the last few Dropzone events.
Yes.
Okay, and their star player Rasmus has now buggered off to the States.
Yep.
So Commodore Rob is now looking for more volunteers to come down to play in Croydon on the 17th and 18th of September, and he's looking for 1 or more players to join the Beasts of War team. Okay, at this Croydon Conference Centre at the Dropzone Commander tournament. So we're putting a shout out to you good folk. If you think you have what it takes to join the Beasts of War Dropzone Commander team, please get in touch in the comments over on beastsofwar.com, and then Commodore Rob will find you and he'll PM you, private message you, and sort something out. Please, if you love your Dropzone Commander, and especially if you're any good, because they need it. If you're any good, please do consider getting in touch and joining the Beasts of War Dropzone Commander team.
Yeah.
Now, where this has got me thinking, right, is I would quite like to see a few more Beasts of War teams entering things, right? And I don't know how much sponsorship we could gather up, okay? But I'm sure we could start to look at things like T-shirts and stuff like that there. So I haven't looked at it so far. We are incredibly busy. You know, it's hard to find time for anything, I've got to say. But I would love to see if you would fancy setting up a Beast of War team to compete in some whatever game system it is you love. Again, post in the comments and let us know if that's something that might be of interest to you.
Right, 2020 Olympics, here we come.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm just starting to think. You know, do you know what we could maybe do something cool? Because some things we could do is we could try and get some team T-shirts designed up that are cool in an interesting way. So it wouldn't just be a Beast of War T-shirt; it would be a team T-shirt kind of thing that we would do. The other thing is, regardless, you know, if you're elsewhere in the world, we could set up a kind of a live blog for you so that you could keep us up to date on how you're getting on at the event and stuff that you're in. So all the rest of the Beast of War community can pile in behind you and go, yeah, come on. Do you know, it feels a bit like there was an online thing called My Football Club some years back where they got everybody together and they raised enough money to buy a football club.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They then sold it because it was about to go bust, but they give it a shot, right? So, but what I'm thinking is the whole Beast of War community, we could get together behind you and your mates as the Beast of War team, and we could, you know, collectively, we could psychically will you on to win.
What, channeling good karma?
And I have no doubt that we could have top 100 finishes, you know, in any reasonably sized tournament. We're all together very fluffy here in the Beast of War community. We know that, but you know, deep down, we're all winners at something. Isn't that right, Justin?
Something.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, please, most importantly, if you're a Dropzone Commander player of any caliber, please get in touch, and Commodore Rob will, no doubt, recruit you into the Beast of War Dropzone Commander team. If you would like to put together a Beast of War team for some other game system, because we'll only be doing one team per game system. Okay. And we'll not be able to do them all at once either. You know, we'll have to save up for this. But
if there's tournaments for games in Europe and US, I would maybe split it that way. Just so that people aren't going, oh, but I'm an American and I want to play this game.
Do you know what? We'll play it by ear. Just let us know and we'll play it by ear. But we'd love to track your progress. We'd love to get behind you as a community. And where possible, we'll even send Ben. Smile, Ben. We'll send Ben, if possible, to the event to come and meet you. And if we're not there, we'll have somebody, maybe roving reporter, there to cover it as well. Wouldn't that be kind of cool?
That would be kind of cool, yeah.
So if you want to do it, let us know and we'll see what we can do. Right, another thing that happened this week, and an opportunity to win something, is we put out the Bolt Action 2nd edition demo game.
Yeah.
Justin, tell us about it.
It was a fantastic game. The rule system has been really cleaned up from Mark 1. So all the sort of issues and stuff and the things that the guys weren't overly happy with Mark 1, they've now went and fixed in Mark 2. So things like high explosive ammunition.
Yeah.
Used to be you would roll, say, 2d6 to see how many hits you get. Now they've switched it to a template system where it's just under the template. Whoever's under the template gets hit. So you don't have like one guy standing taking 12 hits to the face from a mortar round, which just made no sense. Overall, the game is really fun, and what you guys could win by commenting on this video on Beast of War YouTube or Facebook is the new Band of Brothers starter set, which is the Mark II starter set.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun with this one. I do want to say a big thank you to Lance for the Photoshop work he did on this particular one.
Yeah.
Because it's me and John.
Really
bring it up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It does look
Are both
cool.
of you Photoshop?
Yeah.
Or
We're both Photoshopped in there.
I thought only you were
both of us.
Photoshop. We're both. What's that scene taken from?
That's from Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which scene is it?
Episode 4, I think it's from, but I don't know the exact scene.
Yeah, but tell me roughly what were they doing?
John picked it out.
Okay.
John picked it out. But no, that was something that was very, very cool that Lance did. So I wanted to give him a shout out. Thank you. All right.
Not a problem. So do come across to that. We are asking you to quote what your favorite kind of bolt action moment is.
So we have an example on here. My favorite moment from that game came about from me being outnumbered completely. I was US and my enemy was Germany, and from the beginning of the game he had the turn advantage. So that means he had the order advantage. More units on the field, more orders in a turn. Removing my armor from the battlefield, leaving me with nothing
but infantry and mortars.
Yeah. on the battlefield versus his armored force, backed up with some more Jerry firepower.
Yes.
So it's basically we're asking people just to bring out those watercolor moments that you'll get from these games.
Yeah.
Because Bolt Action, and especially Bolt Action 2, is really going to start creating those moments where you're going to sit down with your mates and go, do you remember that time?
Now, you might have thought he lost, actually, but reading a bit further on, he'd held the initiative for most of the game. He was taking out his units left and right, but finally the dice then swung in his favour, which is something Bolt Action is very, very good at. And green after green order dice now started to finally come out of the bag. He was able to, once that starts to happen, you're able to start coordinating stuff and making things happen. And he was able to push and outflank his opponent, blew up his tank with a flurry of bazooka fire, and he wasn't able to defend himself, and it was exhilarating as a first-time player. I remember the first time I played Bolt Action. If you want to see it, it's actually on the internet, my first game of Bolt Action. And it was just that instant intensity of Bolt Action just grabbed me. The whole just not knowing whether you were going to get 1 turn, 2 turns, no turns. Well, it's an amazing, amazing mechanic.
This is one of the key features that they've changed for Mark II. Is you see, whenever you draw your dice out of the bag, if you decide to activate your commander, depending on what rank he is, you can draw more of your dice out of the bag to work in concert with him.
Very cool.
Ooh.
So say you had a first lieutenant, that would let you draw, I think it's 2 dice extra out of the bag. So you put 1 on your commander and put 1 down onto 2 other units.
But what if you draw one of your enemy's dice? Or do you mean you actually
No, you actually get to pull out 2 of your extra dice and actually get your commander to shout at them, you, advance, go.
Oh, so there's a lot more opportunities for coordinated actions and things like that.
Yeah. And the higher ranked your commander is, which makes them even more useful, the more dice they can draw out of the bag. Yeah. So you can do those big titanic pushes forward, which is really cool.
Awesome. Yep. Awesome. Right, we're going to take a very quick break to tell you about some hubs. After the break, we're going to come back and tell you about some community painting picks and our brand new little golden button awards. So we're right back after this.
Venture into the dangerous dungeons of myth as a mighty hero and stand against the darkness. Visit the Myth Hub on beastsofwar.com and begin your story. In a world controlled by massive corporations, a steady aim and split-second decisions are needed for your megacon to complete its goals. Begin your missions at the Mercs Hub on beastsofwar.com.
Okay, so this week we have picked out some little bits and pieces of what's been happening across the community, from painting and modelling and stuff like that, and we're just going to show them off. So let's pull them up. Ben, what have we got this week?
Yeah, sure. So some more fantastic painting picks and stuff like that. We're kicking things off with what Dogma 2097 has been doing, and he painted up some fantastic Mantic Undead, what I thought were really excellent this time. Yeah. It really shows off exactly what you can do when you get these Mantic kits as well, because their undead are fantastic models in there. So it's really nice to see what they've been doing with the customization and stuff like that. I also like the model that's not from Mantic, but the little Necromancer Demon Lord that he's got leading them as well was very awesome. So, yeah.
That is nice. It's nice tidy basing on those as well.
Yeah, it's nice and simple basing, which I really like as well. One of the things he's added in is purple. I love seeing purple in models and stuff. Yeah. And I always use blue as well. So this immediately drew my eye, and it has that cold and dead look to it. So it looks like they've all sort of clambered out of the ground and they're all rusty and things.
Did he say what he's playing with them? Is he playing Kings of War, or is he playing Dungeon Saga, or what's he playing?
I'm not sure actually what he's playing with them. I think he was just using them as a little bit of a skirmish force for a couple of other different games and things like that. Because obviously being on the round bases and stuff, they can fit into whatever you want them to use them for. So,
one of the things you guys will notice, if you bring the page up again there, Justin, is he's now been awarded a little golden button. So it's if you scroll up, there it is there, Dogma 2097, and this is something new we're doing. So I just want to break into this now to explain. This is our little golden button award. So basically throughout the rest of this year, and then each year as it progresses, as we spot cool things, just cool kind of community things that are happening, we're going to award little golden buttons. Okay. Now at the moment we're picking out cool painting picks and stuff like that, but we may not limit it to that. It's more of like a little editor's thing to say, we really enjoyed that, we wanted to tell you guys about it. But what we're going to have is a page. So we've got a rough example from last week's winners. We didn't talk about it last week because we didn't get it finished until after we'd finished recording the show. But this page here is going to end up being Well, they've called it the Community Spotlight Honor Badges. To be honest, it's probably just going to end up being called the Golden Button page. So on this, you can see last week's winners. This week's winners will be added shortly, and we had Ben's W, Buy a Key, and Opponent Theory. So we're going to make a bit of a song and a dance about this page as time progresses, so that but you can look back on any given year and then see some of the highlights from that year of what happened in the community, and some about what you did rather than what the industry did. So it's I've really liked it, and I'm hoping that you guys like it as well and get involved and get your stuff in. So it might be for short stories, it could be for anything that we think is kind of cool. You might do something cool, we might miss it, okay? Don't panic. If it's cool enough, it'll always bubble back up to the surface again, and we'll always catch it. It's but it's just things that we want to show off, but we want to make sure that you guys know just how cool it was, and have a place where we get it. So who knows? You could win a Golden Button Award. Right. So back to our Golden Button Awards. Next up, I think we have Dr. Ether. Now, he was always on for winning a Golden Button Award. This guy.
Yeah, so he's been doing some more painting, and he recently picked up his Fallen Frontier set from Kickstarter by Scale 75, and he's been painting up some of the models for that. So you can see there some of the squads that he's been doing for Ares, which look fantastic. It's for the
he's
characters.
Such an accomplished painter, this guy. I love what Chris does.
Yeah.
And these models are very, very interesting, I've got to say.
Yeah, these are fantastic. They've been on Kickstarter they were on Kickstarter first off, and it didn't go quite well, so they came back to it and reinvented things. But the thing that everybody fell in love with was the rules and the models, and as you can see, they are amazing. I mean, the monster
is amazing. What's he called?
He's a Rift character, so he's one of their sort of leaders called Silas Fenn, and he's really, really awesome. I really liked it. I actually said, I think in this piece, I was mentioning that if I was going to get into this, I definitely have to pick up these guys and play as the Rift, because I love their alien look. Yeah, really cool.
Oh, lovely. Very cool. Next up, we have some Death Watch by Irish Steve. So let's get a look at these.
Ooh, yeah, nice. So these are some really fantastic models, and I think it sort of brought up just how great it is to work on Death Watch models as a whole, because Space Marines are great and everybody really loves them, but the amount of personalization that goes into Death Watch Space Marine is just that next level. So you get to play around with some fantastic things like basing, all their adornments and stuff like that. So I mean, even though these are from the Overkill set, and they've obviously had a lot of this stuff sort of molded onto them, each of them's been given that little extra dose of character to them and stuff. And I really like the presentation of what he'd done with the models as well. So he did the little image as well with it, with their sort of their slogan and stuff. I thought it was really good. So
yeah, it's really nice. And then finally, our last golden button for this week is for an Infernal Golem by Dead Dave. So it's a bit of a modeling project, yeah?
Yeah, so this is based off a Titan Forge model, actually. So this is a big, huge resin kit that he's been working on. But he's been doing a few extra bits and pieces with this to try and tie it into his sort of Minotaur chapter. Yeah. And sort of the things he's been doing with the Space Marines and the 30k element and stuff. So he picked up this. It's a huge, monstrous beast. He's been working on cabling and all sorts of different things. He was telling me how he's used dozens and dozens of pins to keep this together and make all the arms go into different directions and stuff, but looks fantastic, I think, this one.
What a beautiful job. I think Dave, if I remember correctly, is a bass player, and if he is, he has no bass guitar strings left by the looks of it, because they've been put to fabulous use. What a monstrous looking creature. I really like Dave's Minotaur army. He's working on a Warhound Titan as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it turns out. But there you have it. That's our honor wall, or the Golden Button Awards for this week. Right. Let's talk a little bit about news, guys, okay? So we've two wee bits of news for you this week. There's some things to look out for, both live streaming events, actually. The first one is Corvus Belli are going to be streaming from the Interplanetary in 2016. Ben, what have they given any details from what they're doing?
So this is going to be a big live streaming event that's going to be happening over Twitch and all sorts of different places over this weekend. So it started on Friday, running through till Sunday. And they're going to be live streaming a select number of different seminars and some painting tutorials as well with Angel Heraldez, which is pretty awesome. Yeah. One of the other things that they're actually doing with this event as well, is they're going to be doing a pay-per-view event as well. So there's going to be a close-up view of what he's been doing, and all the techniques and things that Angel is working on. And this will be sort of like a little small nominal fee, and you'll be able to tune in and watch the sort of delayed broadcast and things like that. So it's got that wrestling edge to it, sort of tune in and watch it kind of. Which is very, very cool. So.
And then we also have Warhammer TV are going to be live streaming an Age of Sigmar event.
Yes, so they're going to be running the Warlords, which is going to be a massive pitched battle style tournament using the new General's Handbook. And the big, huge thing that they're going to be doing with this is that, as you said, they're going to be live streaming it. So there'll be some videos on Facebook, on YouTube using Warhammer TV itself, and on Twitch as well. And they'll be showing off things like talking to all the different generals, talking about the different games that they're playing, looking at their armies, talking about the scenarios they're playing and things as well. So this is a massive, huge step for these guys. They've never done anything like this digitally before, so this would be a big challenge for them, but I'm sure it'll come off nicely. So
yeah, looking forward to that. This week we had Dark Age come on to talk to us about a new map.
Yes.
Right. So you've spent some time with them to talk about it.
Yeah. I spent some time with Brian Steele, who's one of their rules / story writers, and we actually talked about some of the different areas in the world of Samaria. But the other thing that we now have is a beautifully animated version of the map, actually zooming and panning over stuff. So I'll tell you what, actually, let's get on to the interview and we'll quickly show that. I am joined by Brian from Cool Mini or Not, and today we're having a chat about the new map that has came out for the world of Dark Age. So Brian, what's going on here, mate?
Well, there's been a lot going on as far as the narrative goes in Dark Age, and it occurred to us that we haven't really ever put out a graphic map to show the world what Samaria looks like from the top down. And in a very product that's coming out very soon, the Dragiri book, we actually have a scene where the Prevailer Council is looking at a war map, and we thought that it'd be really cool to have an actual graphic of what they'd be looking at.
Well, I mean, I think this is going to be really cool for players now, because they'll start to sort of see on the map where they're fighting and where their faction's coming from. And I've got a couple of places marked down here that I'd like to have a little bit of a chat about, if that's okay with you. So the first one that I've got here is New Ashkelon, and looking at the actual map here, the thing is actually just dead center in the world here. So everything is surrounding them. So they seem to be surrounded on all sides. So what sort of thing are we looking at here?
Well, first off, the fact that they look like they're surrounded on all sides is that, remember, this map is being kind of drawn together from the idea of the humans, of the Prevailer Council themselves. So they see themselves as the center of the universe. So they are dead smack in the middle.
I see.
And it gives us an opportunity to kind of show that the world around it is much larger, and you'll note that the map kind of doesn't end in places. That's just because they haven't gone exploring any farther yet.
Yeah. Well, I'm also seeing here that there are some of the tribes out and around them. So I'm seeing Trent, Chains Barrow. Are these sort of the outcasts that are sort of out and around and surrounding them? Yeah.
Yeah, those are all outcast settlements, some of which are kind of law-abiding citizens, places where people could go get your rations and your ammo and the things you need to survive, perhaps just back and forth between the two cities. But then there's places like Chains Barrow, which is where the home of the slavers, and the world's largest gladiatorial combat pit.
Oh, lovely! Now that if you're getting some art, I would love to see just a nice big gladiatorial fight, because it could be quite cool.
We actually recently ran a special event at one of our conventions that was a Chains Barrow pit, and everybody brought one or two models, and whoever took the most heads win. It was really cool.
Nice. I love the way you guys actually do that. You actually add so much flavor to your world by pulling little sections out of it. I mean, like the Immortals tournament is one of my absolute favorite things that you guys do. Actually having characters from your players is a really, really cool thing. So let's move on to another location within the world, yeah? So,
Okay.
Next up we have, now I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, but it's Isuzu Dynamics. So where are we here?
The Isuzu Dynamics building is more like a manufacturing compound. It is the company that once put together the idea of an automated robotic terraforming unit that you could shoot off into a planet, and by the time the humans eventually got there, it would be ready with open arms waiting for them. But as with everything in Dark Age, it didn't quite work out. And what ended up happening is when the humans left and they kind of turned the lights off, eventually someone turned the lights back on and the robots woke up, and their prime directive was to build, replicate, push forward, and just expand. And that's what actually is our faction, our robotic faction, the core. That's where they're based out of.
Yeah, now the core for me are one of the creepiest factions within the entire world. It's not that there's any malevolence behind them, it's just that cold, soulless machine fighting to survive. You know,
they're doing their job. You know, they have batteries that ran out a long time ago, and one of the things that their specific batteries called entropic cells were built on was the idea that biomatter, which was, you know, grass, trees, bark, fungus, whatever you could find on these planets that needed colonized, could get shoved into your battery. Well, on Samaria, there's not a lot of fauna around in most places, so the core adapted, and their entropic cells now run on meat. So they're basically meat-powered robots.
But it is a wonderful twist to the story that the thing comes to life, and because it actually can't figure out a way to survive, it has to go sort of mildly animalistic in the way it goes, going, look, have to survive, that'll power me, that'll do. You know, this pink fleshy meat bag, yummy. All right, so let's move to our next location. So I believe this is down in the southern corner of the map where the Kukulkani are based. Is this correct? Yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. It used to be just a hilly wasteland, and then when oddly enough, segue as it is, the core, when they woke up and all their entropic cells kicked on, the technology that Isuzu Dynamics used to make the original entropic cells were based on Kukulkani technology from thousands of years ago.
Ah, I see.
So when they kicked back on, it kind of sent out this little ripple into space, and the Kukulkani turned their head to Samaria and was like, hey, we don't have anybody there anymore. What's going on? And so they sent one of their big warships to the planet, and it has since landed in the hills, and the Kukulkani have started to terraform the area to make it more hospitable to their various life forms and creations, and easy to reap as much bioenergy as they can to refuel their batteries and eventually claim the planet in the name of their star gods.
Now, as I understand it, at the moment, the Kukulkani are having a bit of engine trouble. So what's kind of going on there?
Well, there was a massive explosion that rocked part of the ship. Some people within the Kukulkani, with some of the sub-faction-y type things, believe that it was sabotage. Others think that it was just, you know, the planet getting back at them. And the end result is there's entire chunks of this giant ziggurat warship that has been blocked off for months, for, you know, upwards of a year at this point.
Okay.
And very recently, one of the larger sections was unearthed, and Ishel the Moon, the Nocturnal Mother, the leader of the Cult of the Moon, has come out with some of her followers and is laying claim to part of the crusade, which hasn't made Quetzal very happy.
Oh, I see. So we're going to start to see some power struggles within the Kukulkani in the future. That could be very, very interesting. Right.
Yeah.
Next location. We're moving up to the northwestern corner of the map this time. Now, I believe this is where the Dragiri have now based themselves, or at least some of them have, yeah?
Yeah, those western mountains go very, very deep into Samaria's, like, crust, into their bedrock. And the Dragiri have always been a subterranean people. They've always lived down in the deep deeps, and the mountains are the easiest ways for them to get up onto the surface because their giant tunnels would collapse if they were too close anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So the mountains are hard enough to withstand Dragiri housing, if that's the way I can put it.
Dragiri settlements.
Yeah, there you go. It's also where the most of their special empowered xenosathic crystal that they use in all their technology and their homes and their armor. If you look at any of the Dragiri models, they've got all these crystals on them of various colors and shades. And this crystal that they use is a natural power source that kind of thrives and survives and almost lives in symbiosis with the Dragiri.
Now, that does sort of remind me of another game that you guys do called Xeno Shift. I assume it's based within the same universe, but in a different part of the timeline, yeah?
It is definitely in the same universe. There's no question of that. We've talked about the xenosathic properties of the Dragiri crystals, and the most recent Xenoshift game that came out, Dreadmire, has to deal with some critters that sound and look real similar to some of our stuff that we have down in the Blackmire, the Brood. And on top of that, recently St. Isaac's released last year. He has a few power suits that if people play Xenoshift, they'll recognize the Prometheus suits and the Ajax suits. They'll say, hey, those look really familiar. Well, it's because they are the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as the timeline goes, who knows?
Okay. So we're keeping that under our hats then, are we?
It could be now. It could be past. The Xenoshift, who knows? Maybe there'll be an expansion that comes to Dark Age.
Okay, now that could be very interesting. Okay, so the last location that I myself have picked out on the map here is Fort Retribution. Now, who lives here in the Dark Age world?
Fort Retribution is another crashed ship from a long time ago. A long time ago. It has long since been transformed into a compound of sorts, and that's always been where the Saint Johann, the heretic saint, moved out of New Ashkelon, joined up with the Scarred Forces, and eventually transformed himself into Father Johann, the master of the Cult of Metamorphosis. Fort Retribution is where Father Johann is recollecting, kind of creating a new set of armies of these horrible cannibal mutants around him, and with the hopeful eventual goal of heading a reverse crusade back to New Ashkelon to punish the Prevailers for what they did.
I see. Well, I mean, like I remember we did our Dark Age week a little while back, and we had a lot of fun learning about the different factions. And from what I can understand of the Prevailers, you know, they have a society. It's very militaristic. They believe that human enhancement, this is bad, but not when we do it. You know, that's a miracle right there. So yeah, I can understand why Father Johann now would want to actually, go on a return, the prodigal son returns type thing. Could be quite interesting.
Absolutely.
For a
and it gets a little worse when you deal with the fact that one of the other saints, is a kind of a brain. Saint Luke is basically a mostly meat stuck inside of a very expensive power suit at this point.
Yeah. And
when Johann hears of this, it's sacrilege, heresy, the fact that they're, hiding all of this thing in this guy, but it was when I did it, it was wrong.
Yeah.
He's pretty angry. He's an angry guy.
Well, understandably so. Are there any other places that really jump out for you within the map here that we have now? Because I am interested to learn more about the world of Samaria, because it's sort of setting my imagination to bubbling as to all the different locations and different places I could be playing my games now.
One of the things that I love about Samaria, as far as just when we started looking back at some of the old Brahm art and some of those very original books back in like the early 2000s, is there is a little bit of everything. And now that we've added the Kukulkani, and now we have a full-on jungle. We had a nasty swamp that tries to eat you down in the Blackmire. We have the freezing mountains in the west. We've got the kind of volcanic hills to the east. There's a little bit of everything, and now we've added in some legitimate Amazon style South American jungle down in the southeast. Of anything that actually jumps out at me, completely, like something I would love to see. I would love to see a battlefield that incorporates some of the hive from the core, their expansion, because they dig out lots of tunnels and old mining tubes and things like that. They've had some crossing with the Dragiri in places because they sort of bumped into one another.
Yeah.
But I love the idea, some of the imagery of the core bursting up out of the ground, out of these almost like giant hatch doors that people haven't seen in hundreds of years, and they've unearthed them to the point where they can open. I think it'd be a really cool battlefield to have, almost like trench warfare, that has these sort of core exit points. I think that'd be fun.
That could be very, very cool. Now, I'm having a look at the map myself, and one other thing that's jumping out at me here is there is a little red X down in the bottom left corner.
Yeah.
I'm left to wonder, is that sort of a treasure map piece there or what?
Well, it is in fact sort of a treasure map that one of our characters is following back to. That is the spot, or roughly near the spot, where the Star Hauler, the Long Haul, a space pirate ship, crashed in one of our previous books, and its currently sole survivor, Captain Jake Flay, one of our bounty hunters. That's his old ship, or where they believe it went down. And very soon we deal with Flay and him trying to get back to his ship because he thinks he can salvage some more really amazing technology from it.
I see. Now, you say at the moment he's the only survivor. I'm sensing a bit of a tease here as to something that might come in the future. Because I mean, like, I think I have seen this before in the fluff. Because I was reading through one of the books, and there was a little bit of a story where there was this small village which was actually trying to salvage a ship in an ocean. Now, seeing as that's the only ocean I see on the map, I'm kind of guessing, is that maybe the one they're going after?
It is very possible that our most recent crash landing on the planet could be what has the attention of locals. And who knows what the locals might stir up when they start having to go into the sulfurous waters of the Green Sea.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, like, it's absolutely beautiful to see. I'm loving the design work that you guys have put into this. I especially love the fact that as we look around the map, we can sort of see each faction logo and see where they're moving and shifting to. So it's giving me an idea of just how the story is progressing and where people are moving to now.
I love the fact that our marketing guy, Dave Taylor, you guys are friends. He worked very, very, very hard with myself and Michael and the actual artist, which is an Australian gentleman by the name of Matt Walker. I want to say it's Matt Walker. I'd have to look it up the actual last name, but I know it's Matt. But we worked together on it for over the course of several weeks to make sure we got everything where we wanted it to be. And at the end of the day, the final result, I would be ecstatic to have something like this in a rollout, paper form that I could actually have on a war table or up on my wall as a poster. So I'm excited. I think it obviously is the first of its kind, but I don't think it'll be the last. I think as the story progresses, we'll do some more map adjustments and altering as things go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, even having it, say I was part of a gaming club and we decided to run a campaign, we could actually all start from where we're starting and actually start to, fight over some area with this map, which actually makes for just really cool stories and really cool narratives that people can roll out.
Well, I started my stint in the industry was purely narrative way back when with War Machine, and I've always been even to my detriment when it comes to playing my own games, is I'm always narrative first. I can't help it. Even if I'm making armies that are terrible and my friends look at me and go, "You're never going to win a game." It doesn't matter. I've got the right number of grotesques, and that's how it's going to work.
Yeah.
And I try and put as much of that into Dark Age whenever I get a chance to work with new stuff and new direction. So I'm glad that you enjoy it, and I'm hoping that others do as well.
Well, it's one of those key things that I personally always love is, whenever you see a story driving forward, you're always looking around the corner to see what's happening next. What horrible beastie is coming out of the black mire to actually chew your face off. It's always a good giggle. But thank you very much, Brian. That has been a fantastic chat. I think we'll call it at that. So, guys, drop your comments below. Tell us, what do you think? Do you like the new map for the world of Dark Age? I know I certainly love it. Get your comments in below. We'll move on here, and we'll see you again soon. I am really loving the idea of this map now. It's really going to give you a flavour of where you're fighting in the world and the types of gaming tables you're going to want to build up. You know, because if you're fighting in or around New Ashkelon, it's going to be nice sci-fi city terrain built up in and around the desert. Yeah. Whereas if you're down in the southern end where the Kukulkani and stuff are, you're going to want big Mayan pyramids and stuff that you can build up.
I don't think you can ever underestimate the power of a map. In any game, because like, if you look at it, right, when Tolkien was writing Lord of the Rings, if you ever have a look at what he did, his notebooks were full of like maps and scribbles and diagrams and things like that, and you know, a map is a beautiful way to bring a game world to life, you know. And if you are going to be like, let's be honest, if you're going to commit to a game, one of the things that if you ever get the chance to with your friends, is you want to do a campaign. You want to do a series of linked missions that start to tell out a story. And a map is such an obvious thing to give to your player base for them to suddenly go,
I know where I am.
I want to go there. I want to visit there. I want to be there. I know certainly looking at the map, I've just blown away by it, and I'm just thinking that, you know, that looks really, really sick. So I want to try and get some campaign thing going on this as well. You know, so I challenge you, Justin.
Challenge accepted.
And we will have a go at that. So stay tuned, because I want to explore some of this Dark Age map and see where we go. Right. To close out the show, we've got a couple of Kickstarters to look at. Before we do that, remember that tomorrow morning we have the XLBS version of the show. It's a lot of fun. It's a hell of a lot of fun. And I'll be talking about 2 upcoming boot camps. So if you're interested, please come across, join backstage, because we haven't done boot camps now all this year. We haven't done any. But we've pretty much decided we're going to go do 2 more before the year end, okay? So a November one and a December one. They're both very different, but if you want to find out about them, because we always have to give the backstagers first refusal, so we'll be letting them know what it is first, and they will get the first bite at the cherry on the tickets and stuff. All I can say is that they will be a lot of fun. They will most certainly be a lot of fun. So if you fancy a weekend away in beautiful Ireland, having some crazy crack with us and the game designers,
and maybe even get a pint in.
Maybe get a pint in. Maybe, yeah. I would say there'd be no worries about that. So there'd be no worries about that. So please do consider backstage. I say it all the time, but it's the lifeblood of BC4. We couldn't do any of these front stage shows, any of them. We couldn't do any of them if it wasn't for the committed backstagers who join the backstage community to support the effort that we all make as a community. They keep the site alive. They keep the content alive. They keep him alive. They keep me alive and Ben alive.
I want to stay alive.
So you know, we appreciate backstagers' input immensely. You know, they are absolute stars. They are absolute stars. And anybody that enjoys this stuff, you know, we owe everything to them. So please do consider coming across and joining up on that and find out about the boot camps, because we've had boot camp attendees from all over the world.
And we've had people who have attended every single boot camp we've ran.
I think we've had them as well. So it's but you know, wherever you are in the world, you maybe want to come across and enjoy a bit of crack with us all. So I know, basically from my perspective, we were getting to this point of the year and we're starting to miss you guys. So it was a case of we weren't actually planning on doing any boot camps, and then 2 pretty much came up that we thought, yeah, we could pull them off really, really well. They'd make them really sweet. Because I'm not interested in doing a boot camp unless we can make it the Carlsberg of boot camps, the best in the world. That's all we're interested in, is the best introductory experience of a game that you could ever have. That's the core of a boot camp. If we can't make it that top notch, we're not really that interested in doing it. These two come up. We feel we can make an amazing job on these, and you can have an amazing time. And it was just too much to resist to hopefully get some old faces and some new faces to come along for us to spend some time with you. Mm-hmm. Right, let's talk some Kickstarters. Ben, there's a couple on our radar this week. What are they?
Yep, so the first one is the Darkhold Goblin Adventures RPG.
Oh, I'm liking the sound of this already.
Yeah, this one's been set up by Rebel Miniatures.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all, well, they were on Kickstarter before, and they designed a whole bunch of little goblins that you could use for role-playing games and things like that.
Yeah.
But they've now come back to fund a book that will be digital and physical,
Mm-hmm.
that'll allow you to role-play as these goblins in the Savage Worlds RPG system. So in this sort of fantasy world where you'd normally only be playing as dwarves and humans and elves, they've now gone to the core of the Darkhold, and they're going to be letting you play as goblins and sort of enjoy some fantastic adventures and stuff with these guys. So that should be a lot of fun, I think.
I think playing as goblins could be one of the most fun experiences in an RPG, because I'm just, as you were saying it, I was casting my mind back to my early days on Hero Quest, right? And I remember when we weren't playing Hero Quest on the board, myself and Lloyd used to sit with the Amiga and draw in deluxe paint, pixel by pixel. We used to draw the dungeons out with the monsters and stuff in it, the orcs with the sword over their head. And we used to plan out these it was basically an RPG. We were playing, we were role-playing Hero Quests. And one of the things that always struck me, and it also from the fighting fantasy books, was that I always wondered what goblins got up to down dungeons.
So is this sort of a life of a minion question?
I always wondered. Another game that I absolutely adored that always made me think of it as well was Dungeon Keeper. If you remember Dungeon Keeper, you used to be able to slap a goblin.
Yes.
Something, Justin, I know that you would thoroughly enjoy. But you were able to thump a goblin, and to make him work harder, right?
Okay.
So if he wasn't performing the way you backhand him, and he'd perform better, all right?
Okay.
But I always did wonder what it would be like to be the goblin, because you got to imagine, right, that goblins, whenever the orcs aren't bullying them around, and whenever they find a bit of free time somewhere, they've got to be the party boys of the dungeon. They have to be the party boys of the dungeon, because like the dwarves are pretty party, right? We know that dwarves like to party.
Yeah.
But I reckon the goblins would be the true party boys. So I can see them in their little animal print briefs doing the whole party boy thing.
I'm sorry, but you're just giving me images of a small cave in the side of a larger cave, just with lights flashing out of it, and just hearing a rave going on in the background.
Well, you see, that anytime there's a small cave on the side of a larger cave, you've got to expect that, Justin. You've got to expect that. Right. But if for anything to play with goblins, I think it's kind of cool. So, what's the name of the Kickstarter again?
So it's the Darkhold Goblin Adventures RPG by Rebel Minis, and there's a whole bunch of extra cool stuff in there as well. So you'll have adventures, goblin characters, you can pick up stuff for being a DM and everything like that. So
not only that, but it's already funded. They're not looking much. Yep. There's only about 60 backers in there. Yep. So you could be one of the very few who brings to life the ability to be a party boy goblin. How cool would that be? Right. The next one is an interesting one. These guys reached out to tell us a little bit about their story. They've got a game about tanks. Mm-hmm. They've obviously heard about John. Yep. And they reached out and they said, Beast of War, can you help us get the word out a little bit on this? So we sent Ben to find out a little bit more about it. So Ben, what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so this one's called Final Act, and it's a tank game for 2 players. It's made by Lior Keenan and Sharon Katz. Mm-hmm. And Sharon Katz was actually a tank commander, a real-life tank commander. And he was challenged by some of his mates in the army to create a game that mimicked the sort of realistic battles and stuff that you'd have in tank combat and stuff. So he took up the challenge and did it, and this is the Kickstarter. So it's a really interesting premise where it's 2 players playing against each other, and you're planning out the sort of maneuvers for your tanks, when they're going to fire and things like that. But the really interesting thing about it is there's normally a screen in the middle of the game space area.
Yeah.
And all your stuff is planned out ahead of time, and it's all simultaneous and then resolved at once. So it's all about sort of thinking tactically, thinking ahead, imagining where tanks are going to be going so that you can sort of plan out maneuvers and stuff like that. And it looks like a really interesting game that's got a lot of sort of a bit of a Euro feel to it, with that Ameritrash thrown on top of it where you're blowing stuff up and things as well. So a really interesting game, this one. Yeah.
That's really so. It's got a kind of like a battleships type component where you're each setting up blind, and then I take it then the screens are removed.
Yes.
And then stuff's resolved. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the interesting things about it actually is that when you start the game, you put the screens down and you set up your area while they can't see it, and then that's revealed, and you start to, and then you'll do your first turn, and then you'll put the screens back, and you'll plan out next simultaneous movements and stuff like that, and then reveal them and things. And the whole sort of aim of this is potentially not to destroy all of your enemies, but get to their last line of defense, effectively.
Yeah.
Sort of getting behind them and outflanking them, because obviously in warfare, not everything's just going to be about destroying the opposition. You've got to try and take out their supply lines and things like that. So it's sort of trying to mirror that effect on the battlefield, which is pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, they have a fairly comprehensive Kickstarter page with videos and a gameplay video and stuff on there. So if you're a tanker, which we know tons of you are at heart, if you're a tanker, it's maybe worth going and checking out what another tanker thinks.
Yes.
Tank warfare on the tabletop.
Yeah, about tabletop tanking. Yeah, and how all that works out. Right, that's your lot. Remember, come across the Beast of War tomorrow morning, and we have another full-on show that we're going to be doing. We've got a lot of interesting topics to talk about, and we would love to see you there. So please do consider coming across. Guys, thank you so much for taking me through a world of tabletop gaming again, and we will see you next week. Without him, he's going on holiday.
I am.
That just means it leaves me and you to come up with all of this. It's going to be horrendous. It's going to be disarray. It'll be back of a cigarette packet next week. So, so what do you see? I'm looking forward to it. Not. Right. We will see you later. Hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Until then, please take care.
Become a general of mighty armies at the Kings of War Hub. Take command of elves, dwarves and orcs in this game of masked fantasy combat on beastofwar.com. Humanity has been driven from Earth, but now it's time to take it back. Join the Reconquest and fight the Scourge on the Dropzone Commander Hub at beastofwar.com.
And there's me poking Ben's ear and going, I'm rubbing his hair. I'm giving you a head massage, Ben. Oh.
Those luscious locks.